Emotional regulation through food. Food when we're happy, food when we're sad, food is our companion, and food is our enemy. Many of my clients are very familiar with this struggle. Today, my client Darlene shares her story from when she was a little girl and would use food to regulate her emotions, food for love, food for sadness, having to shop in the women's section when she was just a child, doing diet after diet into her adult years, and then finally she and I meeting and working together in the Slim on Starch program, and how she freed herself from that relationship with food. She was able to release the weight. Her before and after photo is just remarkable. And she talks about the mental and emotional transformation that she went through our work together. What I find particularly special is that she doesn't even mention the weight loss in this entire interview, yet she lost nearly 50 pounds, and she's coming up on 60 years young. She's 58 at the time of this interview. So as you can see, the release in weight was a positive consequence of her freeing herself from this prison with food. Her story is so inspirational, and I'm so thrilled to be able to share it with you. If you want to work with me, a mindset coach and a nutrition coach in the Slim on Starch program to go through a similar journey, you can click the link in the down bar.
My story starts, my weight journey starts with jelly rolls, raw cookie dough, tamales, and wedding cakes. And I remember as a child running into the kitchen and sneaking raw cookie dough. We had a business in the house, in the household. My mother was a baker. So there were always foods around that were high in calories. So wedding cakes, German chocolate cakes. And I was always behind my mom's coattail, kind of tasting and getting the leftovers. The other thing that was pervasive in the household was mental illness. So mom was having a lot of issues and didn't really have time to teach little Darlene the best tools for how to navigate emotions. So she would take me to buy jelly rolls. And Surma's Bakery on Nogalitos in San Antonio, Texas, was where she would take me. And as a child, I loved sweets. So not only was it, in the household every week, her business was thriving with pastries. The jelly rolls that I would get, when she felt I should be comforted. And then growing up in a Latina household where there are very high calorically dense foods like tamales. And I remember my mom used to love to cook. And so I remember her teaching me that you keep putting lard in the dough and you drop a little piece of lard into water, the cup of water, until it floats. So that's how much lard would go in. There were favorite foods that were high in fat. And grade school, Darlene just started to obviously weight and have a lot of issues with self-esteem. As you can imagine, kids in grade school aren't nice, can be mean and hurtful. So shame very much was a big part of this journey. Buying clothes was a big part of this journey because way back then we didn't have big girl clothing stores for kids. And so I remember going with my mother to the women's department and buying, muumuu type blouses. And that brings me so much sadness for little Darlene because I didn't want to be wearing a muumuu to school, to grade school, but that was the clothes that fit at the time. And so as I got older, I would try different weight loss programs. So I did Weight Watchers for a while. I did Atkins. I did the keto diet. And I even tried exercising and working out with a trainer and a nutritionist and kind of being hammered with, you got to eat big amounts of protein to lose weight. And all of those things worked for a while. But one thing that didn't click, but clicked so easily with you, was that I was always trying to figure out the formula to be able to still have these high calorie foods in my life, but have the body that I wanted, and the ability to let the obsession with food just be lifted from me. And those things are not congruent. And seeing that through your program is what really made a difference. As a younger kid, I didn't really have physical, arthritis and stuff like that, but there was a very dense emotional trauma that I lived with as a child, just because of the environment I grew up with. And food was my companion, my comfort, my reward. It was part of my culture. So those neural pathways in my brain were very deep. And so because of the psychological, emotional issues that I had, I started studying Buddhism and reading those books and learning about spirituality. And that kind of led me into a path of stopping eating meat. And it seemed to be the first step I took that really jived with the type of person I wanted to be. And so as I got older, I started letting animal protein go away, not eating animal protein, first red meat, then turkey, then chicken. Most recently, I was working out maybe, 3-4 years ago with a trainer when we lived in Natick, Massachusetts, Longfellow Health Club. Shout out to Massachusetts, from Texas. And Mike, my trainer, I told him I was doing this meeting with you to thank him and give him much gratitude, because just in passing in one of the training sessions, he said, hey, I know of this vegan nutritionist, and maybe you could figure out, see if she could help, because he was always trying to tell me, well, will you eat some tuna fish? Will you eat some fish? And I was like, no, I'm not going to eat fish. I didn't know what to eat to get the amount of protein. I didn't know if I was getting enough protein, because I thought that was going to help me be able to lose weight along with the exercise. And so I started following you, and for a couple of years before I joined, I don't think I was mentally prepared yet. But one thing stood out. Your videos were concise. You had an energy about you, and you always seemed to be teaching me something that was in that little snippet that was enticing, and I wanted to learn more. And I, even with my background as a health professional and a degree in a health profession, it's very different to learn from a book and then to be able to walk the experience and know how and what to put in the refrigerator and how to make this a living part of your life. So, I extracted myself from a way of living where I was just anxious, stressed during COVID, doing a lot of work in my profession, and it just was not sustainable. I moved all the way to Texas to be closer to family, a much slower lifestyle, and that afforded me time to really figure out who I wanted to be and realize that I couldn't any longer have this food addiction that was always in my head, thinking about what restaurant to stop, what calories can I sneak in that somehow I thought weren't going to end up on the scale and on my body. And so I think one of the things that I'm proudest of when I look back is that little Darlene that still is inside this Darlene. She never gave up on herself. She had trust. She was brave, and so shout out to that little avatar, because when her back was against the wall, she didn't give up on herself. And that's really important, because I even tried the I forgot what it's called, like the body love, just I'm just going to be who I am. And I was actually thinking of this yesterday, because that makes me think a little bit, well, am I just vain because I now like how I look? And And that's not it at all. I'm no prettier now than I was then, but when I look at myself now, I see myself in alignment with the principles of who I want to be, so that I'm happy with who I'm looking at. It has no, no, nothing to do with, hey, I'm having a good hair day, or my pimple or my makeup is on good today. It's really looking at the depths of who I am and seeing that food addiction doesn't run my life, that I know what I'm having for breakfast. I know the role food has in my life, and your program does that. And I think it was really an Emmie take the wheel sort of moment, because I really felt I was out of options. Things couldn't work. I was living a vegan lifestyle, but with all processed food. And it wasn't working. The weight was still going up and up. I remember in college putting, I don't know why, on college applications, they want you to put your weight. And I was like 230, and I would always put 180. I was lying. For some reason, I thought, like, that's not shameful. That's doable. So, some wearing women's clothing to putting that on college applications, to finding your program, to trusting myself. So really what I have accomplished, I mean, the clothes fit. I get to buy the clothes that I like. They're less expensive when they're smaller. I'm at my goal weight. And I know what to eat for my meals, how to live my vegan lifestyle that I'll never go away from. And my self-esteem is high. I really feel a good sense of self-worth. What I didn't expect, what I didn't really realize, was the amount of emotional, mental energy cells that were being taken up by food. Even something as simple as going to the grocery store now is so liberating. Lettuce, cucumbers, celery, mushrooms. I know my stuff. I don't have to venture to the bakery and see what type of pastry or bread is there, but I know if I do want that bread, what to look for and how to fit it into my plan. And I know the bread recipe that I actually like that's better, which is your recipe, which is one of my weight maintenance foods that I always like to go back to. So your program has allowed me to kind of peel back everything that wasn't working so that I could blossom. And I owe you such a debt of gratitude for that, because your program is really magnificent. And you don't just, I see you don't just have a job and then this is your program. You live for this. Your heart is amazing. You're patient with us. Your teaching background helps so much, because you literally handheld me throughout the whole process with the modules and the way they work, the way you explain things. One of my characteristics is I like evaluate things and people and say, oh, she could have done this better. This could have been done differently. And I was blown away from the beginning. When we first had our meeting to see if I was right for the program, you sent me this questionnaire, and I was like, this girl knows what she's doing. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it, some more trust and keep going. And then even to have a questionnaire about how do I like to receive feedback, and then all of the homework, thinking about my food philosophy. My food philosophy really had to change. On a scale of 1 to 10, I was like 11 and 12 with how food ran my life. And realizing that just wasn't in sync with who I wanted to be. It's fine if it is for somebody else, but it wasn't for me. And it has nothing to do with how I look in the mirror, but more about what I see when the addiction and obsession and the mental space opens up. That I'm happier with who I am. So if anybody is on the fence about joining, I would say jump in. It is a great great program. You will not be disappointed. As I was reviewing the material last night, it was a perfect time in my life to do it, to do the program, because there's weekly things to do. I think it's you were organized, and then you made me be organized, because you told me we're doing this on Sunday, this is happening, your mindset coach is going to do this. And so as long as somebody is able to be taught, you're the great teacher. And that saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And I was so ready. I was so ready, holding on to like a little thread, like a little kitty, that little meme of a little kitty, but I wasn't going to let go. And now here we are.
Here we are. Your compassion for yourself is exemplary. And I want to touch on that a little bit, because the Darlene of the past, if you will, who, like you said, is still inside you, many clients that I work with will have a lot of resentment and frustration with their past selves. And they'll say, why didn't I figure this out sooner? Why did I do that stupid diet? Why was I raised to turn to food? You were doing the absolute best that you could. Your mom was doing the absolute best that she could when she was raising you. If we would have known better, we would have done better, but we just didn't know. And now that we know better, we do better. And the alternative here to having compassion with ourselves is being extremely frustrated with our past selves, which, guess what? It's not going to change the past. And so that's a lot of lost energy. Oprah says, forgiveness is letting go of the idea that the past could have been any different.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary to just let go of that, have compassion for our past selves, and also recognize that every single step is the one that got you to this call today. So maybe those things were necessary for you to have this amazing breakthrough.
That's definitely true. I mean, that's definitely a Zen concept where there are no mistakes. Everything leads you to the next step. And as long as you don't give up on yourself, things are going to work out. And just finding the right teacher at the right time really can make the difference. And any book that we read on self-help always talks about forgiveness, and how beating yourself up just puts you back in a corner. So I think maybe because I'm more of an older person, I went through those stages of beating myself up. But you see that it doesn't really get you anywhere. And having forgiveness for other people and realizing that's the way to a higher self for myself. Do it now when you're younger. Don't let the wisdom be wasted on the older people like me, who a couple of years away from 60. But the younger generation that may be watching and in their 20s or 30s, that's one of the main tenets is forgive yourself for, one of my therapists said once, all things have been forgiven through time and space. And that just is beautiful to me. The mistakes been that could be in your past, and now, opening up to a higher sense of self. And it really does have to start with what we put in our body and how we treat our body, because that's our vessel.
Absolutely. Negative thinking I was listening to Eckhart Tolle talk about this, how it's addictive, and our brains will actually wire themselves to revert back to negative thinking as something comfortable and something that keeps us safe, because it's a pain that we can control. And so for us to step into this place where we free ourselves from it and we decide, I'm going to be at peace with this, it's actually kind of frightening, because now you're stepping into the place of success and being at peace, and you're not in suffering anymore. And you go, whoa, this is not familiar to me at all. For you to step into this place where you're at a beautifully healthy weight, your before and after is outstanding. It's remarkable. So how does it feel for you to be in this new space where, oh my gosh, things are actually working? I'm actually healthy. I'm not, I know, in the struggle and in the trying anymore. How does that feel for you?
Like I'm out of prison, liberated. I never dreamed past this point. So now I just have an open palette to create. And it's interesting how I believe that we have so many energy cells, let's say 10 in our brain and in our field. And if 9.75 are going to food and what cake can I make and what rib can I barbecue, then you have 0.25 to use for finding joy, finding creativity, cleaning out the closet, adopting a pet, pursuing other interests. And now that food has been relegated to its appropriate place for me, maybe now it's 0.5 or 1 in my life, I have all of these energy cells to think about volunteering, service, new projects at work, projects with my partner, projects in the home, relaxing, reading. So it feels liberating. It feels like a new birth.
Health is a halo that can only be seen by the sick. And for my clients like yourself, who from a very young age were robbed of, a clean slate when it comes to health, you go your whole life saying, oh my gosh, to be healthy, to be healthy, to be healthy. So that once you get here, you can really enjoy that priceless feeling of a clean bill of health. So back to what we were saying beforehand, what was originally thought of perhaps as a burden or a frustration really was a gift to allow you to enjoy just the act of being a healthy human and having gratitude for waking up alive and being healthy and not having to worry about these ailments.
That's right.
I have a question.
Yes.
We talked about how growing up, food was the comfort, food was the way that love was shown. So now what? Have you found a replacement for that? Have you realized that there might not be a replacement for that? Does love just look different? What now that food is not used in that intense emotional space in your life?
Well, one of the good things, the crucial things about your program that none of the other programs have is the mindset coach, which I used as a therapist to delve into those areas. Well, what was always needing the comfort? What was needing the jelly rolls and the German chocolate cake, frosting all the time? So delving into those has helped. So now that my mental house is in order, there are more reasonable things that bring me joy and comfort. I have a deeper sense of appreciation for connections with people, family game night, my dogs. We have 4 dogs, adopting my dogs and just loving them. I'm able to feel my emotions more deeply because there isn't this anxiety. I have ups and downs just like everybody else, but I'm in a better place where, I don't need that dopamine hit and that high. I could have a good day just kind of hanging out at the house and being myself and reading my books. I'm obsessed with books and reading and learning. And, I have a full-time job. And when I want, I guess I don't, that high from cake, I don't know if I would have to like do a bungee jump, but I would never do that to get that amount of high. I'm just happy, when I have a Japanese sweet potato right here. And when I make a really good one, like yesterday, I just, the right time, the right temperature, and I delve into it, that's really a food, a food pleasure, but it's not really found in food anymore. And that's the thing that I had to put down so that I could blossom and move on. So for other people, it could be anything. One of the beautiful things about this program is the community that we develop the people that we get to know, having a resource when we're having a bad day. You're only a text message away on the platform. And it's really great in that. I lost my train of thought, but so it's not really from food anymore. That part of me is the old part that's dormant.
I love the analogy that you use of the mental house. You said, I cleaned up my mental house so it didn't need as many outside resources to patch it up. It would be like if your sink is breaking over and over and over again and your plumber says that they're going to retire, you panic. Oh no, but the sink breaks every day. I need you over here every day. Well, what if
Right.
you actually fix the sink, or we get a new sink so you don't need the plumber anymore?
Right.
Like you said, every once in a while you might need a plumber. You do have bad days. And part of being a human is not, there's a misconception with emotional stability, and people think that emotional stability is you never feel sad, you never feel angry, which is untrue. Emotional
No.
stability,
Right.
allowing yourself to actually feel that way and not numbing it out or pushing it away through the use of food.
Right.
And you also talked about, a bit about your signature system, which you have absolutely rocked, and how you can still use my chocolate cake, for example, or use my bread.
Yes.
Will you talk a little bit about your signature system?
Yes. So one of the exquisite things later in the program is developing a signature system, which has allowed me to know the foods that I like, that some are weight maintenance foods and some are special occasion foods. So it's not like I can never have X, Y, or Z. We do an experiment which allows me to have food and certain high calorie food that I like, and see how it fits with the scale, the reading on the scale that I want to maintain, and how my body feels with it is a big thing. That was another learning process, because when we started working on this, I went to like a vegan pastry shop and had their cake. And then I felt crummy because it's just, I'm sure, filled with things that my body was no longer in sync with. And so that was a learning thing. And so now I know I could make great candy bars from your recipes that are not as calorically dense, but they still totally scratch the itch for the sugar girl that is beautiful. The birthday cake. I just had my birthday in July, and I made your birthday cake from your ebook, and it was like chocolate brownie. It was fabulous. It was fabulous. Yes. And, I indulged. I ate cake for breakfast, and I wanted to have that kind of, devil may care attitude and eat that, but it's not as high a calorie as before. So, I really like, part of the freedom is I know the foods that I want to have in my life, and I could have them and I could fit them in and still go on without being out of my range with my weight. So that's nut butter, your bread, salsa and chips, and I can still have those things. Flax seeds and hummus seeds, and flax seeds and hummus, and chia seeds. Those are the things that I want to incorporate and continue to eat, and I can totally do that. And those other pathways just aren't there, making me crave the food, but I know how to fit it in if I did want to eat those foods. And so my signature system allows me to have the foods I want for the long game. This isn't a sprint and then we're done. It isn't a diet. I've embraced a lifestyle. I love the concept that you teach of sitting down, looking at your month, having your CEO meeting, and looking at the food, making sure I have the plan for my menu, for my groceries. And it's doesn't take a lot of time now. As we go through the months of learning these skills, then it takes less time to keep it going. And so the foods that I want that are higher calorie, I know how to fit them in. so I don't feel deprived. So I know how to do the holidays. I know how to do my birthday.
You are displaying such stability and control around food. You got it covered. It doesn't control you. You know when you're going to have it, and you know what foods serve you, and you know what foods don't serve you anymore, and you're at peace with that.
Right.
Might you say to somebody who comes from a background very similar to yours and finds themselves in a position that you were in before we worked together?
You don't always have to hit a home run the first time out. Part of our journey, whether it's emotional, food addiction based, alcohol, smoking, part of getting a handle on that is to relapse and then get back on. But we could use your program as a skeleton to just climb up the ladder slowly and have that tool. So even if you're not sure, take the leap, because I guarantee you, you're going to be hand led through the process. If you could be brave enough to do that, you are going to be so going in the right direction. The You only will know about the program till you join and are a part of it. But I wouldn't be here sharing this if it wasn't true. I've never done an interview. I'm not like a spokesgirl for anything, but I will speak for you all the time, anytime you need me, because this is true. This is real. Take a chance on yourself, because it's the start of a relationship with a nutrition coach that can really help you. None of the other programs are like this. And especially if you want to embrace a vegan lifestyle and be healthier. All my family has diabetes and high blood pressure and all of that stuff. I have none of that. I have none of that. So, I mean, that's just poof, one more benefit.
Thank you so much for doing this, Darlene. You've been such an inspiration. Your story is remarkable, really, the transformation that you've gone through. And so give yourself a big pat on the back. I think that we have a good team, and I'm thrilled that we're going to be in cahoots for all these years to come.
Thank you, Emmie. Thank you so much. You can hold your head high.
Thank you. Yes.
And I wore my Powered by Potato t-shirt.
Oh, you got to show that.
There it is.
If you made it to this point in the video, comment liberation, because Darlene mentioned that she feels so liberated finally being free. I adore you, Darlene. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. You're inspiring even the felines of this world. I look forward to meeting you who's watching this video. Click the link in the down bar, and I'll see you in my next video.